Drinking and driving consistently makes the headlines and takes lives all across Montana. But what's being done to change the state's DUI culture? Tonight in a special assignment report, Phil Buck takes a look at what's behind Montana's drinking and driving problem.
I think we have a bona fide DUI problem. We have a bona fide attitude problem about DUI in general.
Montana consistently ranks among the worst states in the nation for DUI statistics, despite a number of efforts to fix that.
We seem to worship drinking. We seem to, you can't go out and have fun without drinking. That's got to change.
Even with increased prevention, extra DUI patrols, and added funding, officials say they've had a hard time changing the way Montanans think about drinking and driving.
It's difficult. I mean, when you have a state that allows you, previous to now, to have alcohol on board, open containers, and be driving around, and, you know, Helena's a 12-pack away from Missoula, or whatever the case may be, it's very challenging work.
Many say Montana already has relatively easygoing DUI laws compared with most other states. Even still, lawmakers in Helena debate whether or not there's a cultural problem when it comes to drinking and driving.
These DUI laws are not doing our small businesses in our state any good at all. They're destroying them. They're destroying a way of life that has been in Montana for years and years.
That was nonsense, in my opinion, you know, to come out with something like that. But I don't think that it's destroying a way of life. It's the alcohol-involved crashes are destroying a way of life in Montana.
Missoula County Sheriff Carl Ibsen agrees. He wants to see tougher DUI laws to help scare people out of drinking and driving.
I sort of can understand how almost anyone can get popped for DUI once. That happens. Most people, when that happens, they learn from it. By the time you get into your third, fourth, fifth, I think you should go away forever, because you are a murderer. You just haven't picked your victim yet.
And it's a constant battle. It's a battle that will probably never be won completely, but it needs to be fought, and it needs to be fought hard.
It's important to note that those that I spoke with who are on the front lines of that battle say that they're gaining ground here in Montana. And for many of them in our community, including Sheriff Ibsen, that battle has become a very personal fight. Tomorrow night, in part 2 of my report, we'll learn how almost no one is safe from the consequences of drinking and driving. On special assignment, Phil Buck for Montana's news station.
Well, last night we took a closer look at the roots of Montana's drinking and driving culture. The more we looked at the issue, the more we found that no one is completely safe from the consequences of drunk driving.
In part 2 of his report, Phil Buck looks at the effect drinking and driving has on our communities and what can be done to help Montana address its DUI issue.
All my career, I've really detested drunk drivers. Now I hate them.
And Missoula's Sheriff Carl Ibsen has a good reason. In 2009, a drunk driver killed his wife.
You can't imagine actually being on the receiving end, being the victim of something. You read about it. In my line of work, we get out there on the road and deal with it all the time, but you never quite imagine that you're going to be the one getting that phone call.
But Ibsen says his wife wasn't the only victim of that particular DUI crash.
It's not just the victim side that has a dramatic impact on the life and the rest of the future. You know, his life has been, and his family's has been affected dramatically also. Everybody's victims.
Ibsen supports tougher DUI laws to help scare people out of drinking and driving. But not everyone feels that that alone will solve the problem.
Enforcement alone is not going to get it done. Treatment alone is not going to get it done. They have to work together. It's the safety of our families out there.
Treatment in particular, according to some experts, can help address the more serious, repeat DUI offenders we see here in Montana.
There is a serious need for alcohol and drug treatment programs in our state. When people get out there and they get their 10th DUI or 11th or 12th, as you read in the news, it's not because they haven't been taken to task for it. It's not for lack of laws or law enforcement. It's for lack of treatment programs at that point.
Hutchison says Montana is starting to take steps in the right direction, and Ibsen agrees. The challenge that lies ahead for both of them
will be changing the way Montanans think and act when it comes to drinking and driving. On special assignment, Phil Buck for Montana's news station.
Montana's DUI task forces have spearheaded efforts to not only add treatment program opportunities around the state, but to increase education efforts on drinking and driving. Last year's legislature also approved the state's 24/7 Sobriety Act. It aims specifically to keep tabs on repeat DUI offenders.